Welcome to Perfectville, your first place podcast for your last place Miami Dolphins, part of the BLEAV Network, presented by Fanduel. I am Sam Marcoux, and we are getting you kickoff ready for week 2 of your Miami Dolphins against the New England Patriots, an AFC East rival like none other. Miami Dolphins have their home opener against the formerly dominant, now on the uptick, rebuild New England Patriots, and we're going to talk all about it here on this episode, along with a good friend of mine, a co-host, if you will, in his own right, Chstopher Price from the Boston Globe, co-host of the BLEAV in Patriots podcast with Chris Hogan. He's going to be joining us in just a few moments. Get us ready from views on the other side of the fence. Tell us what's good about the Patriots, what we don't have to worry about with the Patriots, who's the player that we're going to be talking about from the Patriots after the game is up, all of those fun things. But until then, we do need to talk about the news of the day for the Miami Dolphins. And of course, that goes back to just what in the hell is happening with this team in the locker room, on the practice field, in front of the media, and of course, ultimately, how that shapes itself onto the field of play. Look, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You guys have seen it on this show. You've seen it on social media. You've seen it on the newscasts and the sports shows. The Miami Dolphins laid a stinker when it came to week 1 against the Indianapolis Colts. They lost in embarrassing fashion. They didn't look good on offense. They didn't look competent on defense. The coaching was horrible. Nothing went right with a few specks of good in a big, big turd that was the Miami Dolphins performance week 1. So we're not going to rehash that. But what I do want to talk about is the fact that the Miami Dolphins seem to be lying to our face as a franchise. This whole Darren Waller saga, I'm over it. I think the best thing the Miami Dolphins can do is say, you know what? This was a mistake. We're sorry. We tried something. We rolled the dice. It is not working. We are going to move on, and we're going to release Darren Waller of the burden of coming out of retirement with an injury. Sucks for Darren, but we're not going to hem and haw. We're not going to bullshit everyone in the media and all the fans and everybody else out there, all the citizens of Perfectville. I think that's what the Miami Dolphins should do. It's not what they're going to do, but it's what they should do. And I would appreciate the honesty, because the answer that Mike McDaniel gave the other day about if Darren Waller was going to play week 2, he said something to the effect of, I expect to not expect anything or know anything, even though I should know something. And maybe, just maybe, we would have to make a decision that's in the best interest of the team for the season. Like, what kind of weird salad was that? That was impressively bad, even for Mike McDaniel. On the Mike McDaniel scale, it was a 1 out of 10. It was an 10. So we're not communicating well with the media. Tua's mad at everybody, and he should be mad at himself, quite frankly. The players are having a players-only meeting after week 1. If that doesn't instill confidence in the fan base, then I don't know what will. When your team captains after week 1 said, you know what, we need to have the room, and we need to get all of the coaches out of here, and we need to talk about this. We need to handle house business. Town business starts now after week 1. That's not a good thing. Ladies and gentlemen, citizens of Perfectville, quite frankly, that's a very, very bad thing. So all the signs are there. The smoke signals are flowing off everywhere. I am seeing full-blown fire at this point. I think the Miami Dolphins are in trouble. I think this is not going to be a season that we're going to want to remember for any good reason. This might be the end of an era. It might be the end of the Mike McDaniel era after this game, depending on how this shakes out, depending on how the Miami Dolphins show up or don't show up in their home opener against the New England Patriots team, a team that is inferior if you look at them on paper, if you look at them over the last few years. Look, it's no mistake. The Miami Dolphins have owned the New England Patriots in the Mike McDaniel / Tua Tagovailoa era. Mike McDaniel, I believe, is 5-1 as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins against the New England Patriots. That's pretty good. Tua Tagovailoa as a starter, 7-0. Never lost. The New England Patriots have not scored 30 points in a game since October 16th, 2022. That's probably going to change this weekend, just because I said it. That's 46 straight contests. That's the longest active streak in the NFL of not scoring 30 points or more. So what happens if the New England Patriots score 30 points? What happens if the New England Patriots beat the Miami Dolphins by scoring more than 30 points and it's more than one score? What happens? Does Mike McDaniel get fired? Do we start trading off pieces and assets to try to rebuild in earnest? Or does Stephen Ross do nothing and just wait it out? Just let them get slaughtered on a short week in Buffalo, week 3. I really wish I had the answer. I know what I would do. I know what I would do personally, Sam Marcoux. If I was in charge of the Miami Dolphins and the Miami Dolphins lose to the New England Patriots, I'd fire him. I'd get rid of Mike McDaniel. I'd get rid of Chris Greer. And I just put everyone on notice, the fans, the media, everything else. This didn't work. Sometimes in life and in business, things don't work. You could have a good idea, execute it poorly. Sorry, our bad. We'll get better. We'll try better. We're going to try something new. That's what I would do. Don't know if that's what Stephen Ross is going to do, but that's what I would do. But I'd like to see the Miami Dolphins come out. Like, look, on offense, they got to get back to their bread and butter. They have to be able to run the ball to the left side, and they're going to have to throw the ball to the left side. They're going to have to roll Tua Tagovailoa to the left side. That's because the right-hand side of the line is on injured reserve. They're out. They're hurt. Austin Jackson, the big man, right tackle, just got back, re-injured his toe late in the game against the Colts. Lovely. He's out. And, of course, James Daniels, who had really no injury history up until last year. So, of course, we signed him to the richest free agent contract that we gave this season. He hurts his pectoral muscle. He's on injured reserve. He's missing at least the next 4 games. So we got Cole Strange, number 69, former first-round pick of the Patriots. Patriots fans are laughing at us for picking up their garbage. It's a tough spot to be if you're a Miami Dolphins fan. Nobody, whenever this turns around and the Miami Dolphins are successful and, dare I say, win a Super Bowl, nobody's ever going to tell me that we are fair weather fans. Because if you are surviving through this, if you're getting through the churn that is the Mike McDaniel era right now, then you're a fan. You're a true fan. You're showing up, you're wearing the colors, you're painting your face, you're getting online, you're talking about the team, you're buying the rivalry jersey, you're doing a podcast for the BLEAV Network, whatever it is, you've earned your right to brag when it's time to brag as a Miami Dolphins fan. That time is just not right now. I don't even see how we're favored in this game. Last I checked on Fanduel, Miami Dolphins were plus 1.5, or I'm sorry, they were minus 1.5 favorites. They're favored by 1.5. The exact opposite of what happened with the Colts. Hopefully we have the exact same impact or effect that we had in the Colts game, in that if we're being favored, we can go out and blow them out. But here's the thing. The ceiling for Mike McDaniel right now is to keep his job. That's it. He can keep his job by winning this game, but winning this game doesn't save his job. He's still on the hot seat because we've beaten the Patriots. We've done all that. We've beaten the Patriots year over year in the Mike McDaniel era. So beating the Patriots now doesn't save Mike McDaniel's job. He gets to keep his job if he beats the Patriots. But if you lose to the Patriots, well, then you have clear regression. Then you have something that didn't happen in the Tua Tagovailoa Mike McDaniel era that's now happened. That's a metric. That's a data point that any business analytics person just out of college can look at and say, this is a problem. We are not performing. I said it last week. I'll say it again. The only way Mike McDaniel saves his job if he somehow pulls off a miracle and beats the Buffalo Bills week 3 on the road, Thursday night in Buffalo, primetime. He can't save his job beating the Patriots. He would be scored 70 points. He can't save his job. He could just keep his job. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the New England Patriots. I've got him. He's coming into the studio. We're going to stop. We're going to pay some bills, and then we're going to bring in Mr. Chstopher Price from the Boston Globe, co-host of the BLEAV in Patriots podcast, with Mr. 7-Eleven Chris Hogan. Chstopher Price joining us right after these words. All right, joining me now, back from break here in the town of Perfectville, Sam Marcoux, part of the BLEAV Network, presented by Fanduel. As I always say, I may have been alone, but I'm never lonely, and I'm not even alone anymore. Our returning champion. Let's look at some of the credentials this man has had. Let's see. He's a writer for the Boston Globe. He's the co-host of the BLEAV in Pat's Patriots podcast here on the BLEAV Network. He's been on this show, I think, 4 times now, which puts him as the leader in the clubhouse as the guest with the most appearances on this show. And wow, I think he is the guy, the only guy in Boston/Massachusetts that's involved with Boston sports that I actually like. Ladies and gentlemen, Chstopher Price, back in the town of Perfectville. Chris, thank you for being here.
I appreciate that, my friend. Thank you so much. That does mean a lot to me. I wonder if then when I come on For January's game, do I get one of those 5-timers jackets like they have on SNL?
Yeah, we'll get you. Actually, what we'll do is, as you know, Chstopher Colin couldn't be here tonight. My co-host, he's a 2-time Hall of Famer in the Perfectville Hall of Fame. In fact, he's the only member in the Hall of Fame. We're still wondering if maybe we put Richmond Webb in, but Chstopher Colin is the only one, since he's the only member in the Hall of Fame. He's the only person that can vote other members into the Hall of Fame, and he's been lording that over to me, and he's never going to put me in the Hall of Fame. So I think I can maybe twist his arm a little bit, that old college football arm. It's probably a little sore. It's got a little bit of frozen shoulder. So if I twist it, it's going to hurt. And I can maybe, just maybe, we can get you an orange and teal jacket as a member of the Perfectville Hall of Fame.
I love it. It's got to be one of those throwback Dolphins, those throwback Dolphins colors. We are, once again, and we've talked about this before, on the cusp of what could have been the greatest uniform matchup of all time.
Yep.
Pat Patriot versus the old school Dolphin. The NFL, in their inimitable wisdom, decided to pass up on it. But we're gonna keep the faith there. One day it's gonna happen.
It will. But let me ask you this, because you saw the reveal for the rivalries jerseys. I thought all four, if I had to rank them, the Jets are going to be dead last, but I think all four of the rivalry jerseys came out pretty good. I actually really liked what the Bills did. I liked what the Dolphins did. I liked what the Patriots did. I love the presentation of how you guys revealed that. What were your thoughts on the rivalry jersey for the Patriots?
I liked the helmet. I didn't really, the jersey kind of left me,
Okay.
I'm just, in part of it, my well-known love of throwbacks. We need to start incorporating the early 90s Patriots jersey, the Keith Byers era, New England Keith Byers era, Ben Coates, Drew Bledsoe, the Marino Bledsoe shootout of 1994, 1995. Those jerseys, I loved those jerseys. And Pat Patriot is great, but those would just kind of fill a role for, kind of perfect little nostalgic throwback, that early 90s, that weird looking with the flying Elvis on the shoulder and all that. It was a weird jersey, but from my perspective, those are I don't want to say I grew up with those, but those kind of, hit me at a very formative age. So let's keep our fingers crossed for those.
No, I agree. I mean, I'm not as in love with the Miami Dolphins bridge jersey in terms of the old school logo that everyone knows and loves, and the newer one, which I'm okay with. But that mid 90s to early 2000s Jimmy Johnson era, where we had that cartoon angry dolphin, still had the helmet on his head. I love that. But it was like, that's not beloved. That's not as beloved. We weren't good. We weren't very good. We had good teams, but we weren't good. And nobody's clamoring for that logo to come back. But I would like to see it. It would be great. If I own the Miami Dolphins, I do this bit quite a bit. If I own the Miami Dolphins, I would announce we are going back to one of the most iconic jerseys and uniforms that we've ever had. And everyone would get all happy and clamor for that 1960s and 70s and 80s logo. And then I would just drop, we're going back to 1996 era, and just watch season ticket sales plummet. That's what I would do. I would just, it's like, like my friend used to say, if I had all the money in the world, I would take all the sick kids to Disneyland and then make sure all the rides were closed. It's like, it's horrible. It's horrible human beings. Speaking of horrible human beings, the Patriots are going to be in Miami for our home opener, the Miami Dolphins home opener. Both teams coming off a loss, but I would say very different mindsets coming off this loss. The Miami Dolphins fans are on the ledge with one foot already dangling off. The Patriots lose to the Raiders. Raiders aren't world beaters, but you guys were competitive. And you have the coach, Mike Vrabel, that I think he was destined to be when Bill Belichick left. Him being in New England just seems to make sense. How are the New England Patriots fans? How are the writers? How are the players feeling after a tough week one loss, but a competitive one? Are you feeling optimistic? Are you feeling good? Or is it, dang, we lost and we're mad?
Well, I think it's, dang, we lost a winnable game ultimately. I think that maybe that was the game that kind of rearranges the expectations, at least on a national level, when it comes to the Patriots. Look, I think that the national people were way out over their skis with this Patriots team. I think that they're good. I think that they're competitive, but this is not a 500 team yet. I think that there's major holes. There are depth issues everywhere. There's some elite talent. There's blue chip talent. Milton Williams, Christian Barmore, Stephon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte has evolved into a number one wide receiver. You know what you have with Hunter Henry. Trevion Henderson has a chance to be offensive rookie of the year, but they're really, really thin. It's some really important positions, and we're already starting to see that manifest itself on on-field play. they struggled. The secondary struggled in the season opener against the Raiders without Christian Gonzalez. And honestly, the other thing too, they didn't have Jabril Peppers, and Jabril Peppers was, their de facto tight end stopper for the last couple of years. And of course, you don't have Jabril Peppers. Brock Bowers puts up big numbers. So there is a guarded sense of optimism about this team that Vrabel can eventually get it to where it needs to be. But this is a multi-year process. They are not a playoff team this year. And I think a lot of the national folks saw that. While they remain competitive, they're going to be competitive from start to finish this year. They're not where they want to be yet. I still think this is a 7-win team at 8 wins if everything breaks, if everybody stays healthy.
You mentioned not having Jabril Peppers and that he's been a tight end stopper, and he wasn't there week 1 against the Raiders. The good news for the Patriots is that the Miami Dolphins don't have tight ends. So you don't have to worry about that issue week 2, Patriots fan, if you're listening to this, watching this right now, because the Miami Dolphins aren't going to have Darren Waller most likely. And the people that are in the tight end room really probably shouldn't be on an NFL roster, if you ask me. I'm very down on the Miami Dolphins when it comes to their tight end room. I do think they have good wide receivers, obviously Tyreek Hill, obviously Jalen Waddle, but they do have other players there like Malik Washington that I think can take advantage of the secondary like you talked about. Is Christian Gonzalez going to play this game? What does your sense tell you about Christian Gonzalez week 2?
No, he's not going to play. He hasn't been on the field since the first padded practice back in late July. And even if there was some sort of miraculous laying on of hands situation that's going on in Foxborough, some deer antler spray, whatever the case may be, this is not going to be a situation where Christian Gonzalez is going to play in week 2. We're already hearing talk up here about how this is some sort of, modified holdout because he wants a new deal. There's some, but I think at the end of the day, this is a soft tissue injury. And with fast guys, you'd rather be safe than sorry in a lot of instances. So I think that if you're a Patriots fan, maybe look for him in week 3, week 4. He is not going to play this week. The other guy who's not going to play this week, I know for sure, is defensive end Keon White, who was not at practice Wednesday, not at practice Thursday. His locker was closed up tight when we were in the locker room today. He was on the injury report both days because of an illness. He is nowhere to be seen, so you can cross him off if you're a Dolphins fan.
Well, I think that's good news if you're a Miami Dolphins fan, because we need all the help we can get. I mean, we are no strangers to injuries. I think somebody did the math. Last year, the Miami Dolphins averaged 13 players on the injury report every single week. That was on average with a max of like 17 one week or 18 one week. It's outstanding, the amount of injuries banged up. And I know part of that is sort of the gamesmanship of, somebody stubbed a toe, we're going to put him on as questionable. I get it. Most of the players end up suiting up, and it's a little bit of a joke, but still, you look at that, and then you look at what the Colts had week 1, which is a very clean, I think, 1, maybe 2 people on their injury report. And like, okay, why did they get that? And we have to wonder all the way up until game time if our starting right guard is going to play or not. And then he does, and then he gets hurt the first play of the game, and he's out for 4 weeks. So a couple of things. If I'm the Miami Dolphins on offense, the weakness seems to be the secondary for the New England Patriots right now. Is that where they should be attacking? Should they be going after big gains to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, or should they be looking elsewhere, maybe on the run in the running game with Devon Achane? Is there something else other than over the top getting chunk yardage, which they haven't been doing for the last probably 8 to 10 games in Miami? Is that where they should try to focus their efforts to exploit the Miami or exploit the Patriots defense, or is there something else that I'm missing?
No, that's the course of action they should take. Test the depth of that secondary. Right now, without Gonzalez, they let go of DJ James the other day. They have 4 healthy cornerbacks coming into this game. Alex Austin, who has really taken up a lot of the slack since Christian Gonzalez went down. He's good, he's competitive, but he's not Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah.
And you can make some gains against him. Carlton Davis, one of the big free agent acquisitions they picked up over the course of the offseason, been so-so. And he's a guy who's been on his own plan all summer. He's been competitive again, but he's not Christian Gonzalez. So you get into a situation where they've struggled with guys who are 3rd and 4th receivers in the preseason and in the regular season against the Raiders. Trey Tucker, Jacoby Myers, put up big numbers against him, but Jacoby Myers honestly puts up big numbers against everybody. So he's one of the more underrated guys in the league, but that's a whole nother story. They really struggle with these 3rd and 4th, and I think they're going to continue to do this as long as Gonzalez is out of the lineup. They're going to struggle with these 3rd and 4th wide receivers. And so I think there's some gains to be made there if you're the Miami Dolphins. Look, they are going to concentrate their efforts totally and completely on stopping guys like Tyreek Hill, but at the same time, there are 3rd and 4th options out of the backfield, out on the boundary, that I don't think that the Patriots are going to be able to keep up with. One thing I can tell you what they're doing, and they've done this in the past, is to give the scout team wide receivers look, there's no one on the roster with the speed of Tyreek Hill. So what they do is they give the scout team wide receivers a 5-10 yard start downfield. And it's about making up that speed, over the course of the play. So there are a number of questions with the Patriots. The depth of the secondary, I would think, would be an area of concern going into this one if I'm New England going up against Miami.
Who's the guy on the New England Patriots defense that Miami Dolphins fans, journalists, everyone in the media will be talking about on Monday that we just are sleeping on right now? Is there a guy on that line or in the linebacking core that you think this is somebody that everyone should be paying attention to, and they're going to find out why on Sunday?
I'll give you a couple names. First of all, Harold Landry. He had 2.5 sacks in the opener, and he can create pressure off the edge. He had kind of an underwhelming summer, but he comes out against the Raiders, gets 2.5 sacks. He's a guy who can generate good pressure off the edge. The other guy who plays like 100 miles an hour, like his hair's on fire all the time, is Robert Spillane, the middle linebacker.
Yeah.
He is without a doubt, no questions asked, Mike Vrabel guy. This is a guy who stepped in the middle because they've undergone a lot of change there. This is a guy who wears the green dot on the helmet. This is a guy who directs the defense. Those are two guys. I would also honestly look out for Milton Williams. Milton Williams played a career-high 49 snaps last week. Big free agent signing. He was basically a complementary piece of the puzzle with the Eagles, had that great Super Bowl, and no one was ever really sure if he was going to be able to kind of take on that added workload. He did it and really impressed in the preseason or in the regular season opener. So those are the three guys that I would point to. But Landry, for me, was the biggest surprise last week, and I think he has the potential to surprise again this week against Miami.
Well, given what he did against the Raiders and given how the Miami Dolphins did not do a very good job of calling out protections and understanding where blitzes were coming from against the Colts, it's very possible that Landry has 2.5 sacks in 1.5 plays against the Miami Dolphins on Sunday. It could be that type of game if the Miami Dolphins can't figure out how to get their act together. Now, switching to the other side of the ball, Mr. Chstopher Price, who is the guy on the New England Patriots offense? And you talked a little bit about it, I think, already, that, again, everyone will be talking about Monday morning when we are recapping this game. Is there a guy out there? Is it TreVeyon Henderson? Is it somebody else that we're not thinking about that the Miami Dolphins absolutely need to focus in on?
This is a guy who's not necessarily under the radar, but Kayshon Boutte has really ascended to the role of the number one wide receiver on this team. And that's on a roster with Stephon Diggs. Now, I think Diggs is eventually going to be the number one again. But Kayshon Boutte is a guy, he's the only receiver on this team over the last, dating back to the start of last year, who's had a 100-plus yard game. He has a great connection with Drake May when it comes to the deep ball. He's smart. He's maturing. The arrow is pointed in the right direction for this young man. And he really, for me, sets up to be a really talented young receiver. And I think he's the first guy that May looks for when it comes to deep ball. I'm not talking about short and intermediate stuff with Pop Douglas or Hunter Henry or one of the running backs. This is when, Drake takes that 5-step drop. Boutte, more often than not, is the guy he's looking for. The other guy to look out for, they didn't lean on him a lot in the first game of the regular season, but he really impressed over the course of the summer, is TreVeyon Henderson. TreVeyon Henderson had that kick return in the preseason opener against the Commanders. This guy has elite speed, like close to Tyreek Hill kind of speed. So this is a guy, if they get him going, and they talked today about wanting to really flip the switch on the running game. Josh McDaniels was really, he expressed a high level of regret, remorse, contrition, whatever word you want to use, about the run-pass balance in the opener against the Raiders. Drake May dropped back a career-high 53 times, and they only ran the ball 18 times, including 3 times in the second half, only 3 runs in the second half. They got to figure out a better balance when it comes to the offense, and I think it starts with TreVeyon Henderson.
I like those answers. I don't like the outcome if those happen to be correct, but I think those are really good answers. This is why you're on the show talking about the New England Patriots here in the town of Perfectville. A couple more questions, couple more stats, and I'm going to let you go. But then I have to have you give me your official prediction. But I looked it up. Mike McDaniel is 5-1 against the New England Patriots. That's a relevant stat because he's the head coach of the Miami Dolphins against a team that used to absolutely dominate the Miami Dolphins in a different era. Tua Tagovailoa is 7-0 as a starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins against the New England Patriots. Also a relevant stat because he will be playing in this game. Obviously, he predates the Mike McDaniel era. He did not play in one of those games, the one game where Mike McDaniel lost as a head coach. So 7-0 for Tua Tagovailoa as the quarterback, 5-1 as Mike McDaniel as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins against the New England Patriots. On the flip side, Mike Vrabel as a player against the Miami Dolphins has a winning record. Mike Vrabel as a coach has a winning record against the Miami Dolphins. Something's got to give this weekend. It feels like Mike Vrabel has the Dolphins number. He just kind of has that thing. On the flip side, Mike McDaniel seems to have the Patriots number. Tua Tagovailoa, same thing. Jalen Waddle tends to go off against the Patriots. For whatever reason, he just matches up well, or has in recent years. Seems like that might still be the case with the secondary for the Patriots. Do you believe in these weird X factors, or is it all just coincidence and every single game is in a vacuum and things happen for where they happen? I guess where I'm going is, how the hell do you explain this? I understand the Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa thing because the Patriots haven't been very good in this current era up until maybe right now as they start to get better. But Mike Vrabel, when I look at him as a player and I look at him as a coach, seems to have the Dolphins number with teams that were inferior to the Dolphins. That scares the hell out of me because when I look at the talent, I think the Dolphins have more talent than the Patriots. I think, at least I think I thought that until week 1. But it's going to come down to coaching. And I think I'm taking Mike Vrabel over Mike McDaniel right now if we're just going to do a head coach battle. I don't know what you do with that comment. I'm not even asking you a question. I'm just spewing at this point what the hell is happening, things I've seen.
It's weird, Sam, because the history of the Patriots in Miami it's never been great. Never been great. You know, and this is the Belichick era. This is, the Miami Miracle happened the last Super Bowl, season of the last Super Bowl with the Patriots. So Belichick took great teams down there for years and still struggled. I remember a game, it was I think it was a Monday night game with the orange jerseys. And Jim Bates was the interim coach. And the Patriots were on their way to like a 14-2 record and another Super Bowl, and they lost down there. It's one of those things. It was in Belichick's head for years. It was obviously in Mayo's head last year. And look, last year was a talent thing. Last year was a straight talent thing. The Patriots were lousy last year. And so, you and I, you could see it. We could see it. We could all see that the Dolphins were a better team, and it made sense for the Dolphins to blow out the Patriots. For me, this game comes down to a fast start for New England. It's absolutely paramount that New England has to have a fast start, because you go down there and look, this is my experience with the Patriots games down there. You go down there, the Dolphins score an early touchdown. They get the ball rolling. They play that theme song. Everyone's into it. Then they come back and they'll get a quick turnover. And it's before you know it, before you sit down, it's 10-0 or 14-0. And the Patriots are just done. They're cooked. They're toast. It's all over. If the Patriots get the run game going, like we heard today from Josh McDaniels, Trevion Henderson, Antonio Gibson, Ramondre Stevenson, if they can get that cranked up, if they can impose their will early on, if they could put together like a 12-play, 70-yard drive right out of the gate, then you can get physical with him, and you can punch him in the mouth, and you can, and then I think they have a real chance in this game. But if the same old story happens, if Tua finds Jalen Waddle for a 60-yard touchdown pass right out of the gate, and you hear the theme song, and Drake May throws a pick like he did last week against the Raiders, and it's going to be the same old story. It doesn't matter who the coach is. It doesn't matter if Vrabel, Belichick, Mayo, whatever the case may be. I think the Patriots learned from the loss last week. They learned, they know what they need to do. I don't know if they're going to be able to address it. I don't know if they're going to be able to execute, but there is a sense in this locker room and with this coaching staff that this is a far more functional team, a far more professional team than we've seen over the last couple of years. And to your point, I think that is going to make a difference. I don't know if necessarily Vrabel has a coaching edge here or is in McDaniel's head for whatever reason, but I think at the end of the day, the gains that the Patriots made over the course of the offseason, it's not going to result in them making the playoffs, but it's going to result in them being competitive with these mid-market teams like the Dolphins, where you might end up splitting. You might lose this weekend, and this is my biggest takeaway here, the Patriots can make their season. If they win 7 games and they knock the Dolphins out of the playoff picture in January up here, and it's 20 degrees and it's snowing and the Dolphins want nothing to do with the game after, then that's a successful season. If you sweep the Dolphins, that's a successful season, I think, in the eyes of Patriots fans, even if you just win 10 games, or even if you just win 7 games. So this is my roundabout way of saying that I think they're going to win this weekend. I don't think it's going to be clean. I don't think it's going to be ugly, but I know I'll say this. I think it's going to be ugly at times. It's going to be typical early season football, where we're going to see something happen. The game's going to turn in the second half on a takeaway, on a turnover, on a weird play. If, Andy Borregales is going to kick 4 field goals, whatever the case may be, something funky is going to happen. And I think New England ends up winning this thing just barely against the Dolphins.
So you kind of you're leading right into what I wanted to ask you last, which is what is so the other thing that I thought was fantastic knowledge by a Patriots fan. I got him credit. I think I saw this on Reddit. I saw that the New England Patriots have not scored 30 points in a game since October 16th, like 2022. It's like 46 straight games without 30 points, which I just gave them the old broadcast curse right there because I just said last week, oh, the Colts haven't won a week one since 2013.
Boom.
And OJ McDuffie and Seth Levitt from the Fish Tank podcast said, why did you say that into the microphone? And wouldn't you know it? So here it is. I'm cursing them again. But final score, you said you think the Patriots are going to win this game. What's the final score? You said it's going to be close. Let's hear it. What's the prognostication?
I'm going to say something along the lines of like 21-19. I think, again, it's going to be a funky, weird game. I think, even though Miami's usually a fast track, I'm going to take the under just barely. I don't know what Fanduel has it at, like 43.
Yeah, it's like 43 and a half.
I'm going to go under. It's going to be a weird game.
Yeah.
It's going to be decided on a fluky, weird, again, Borregales kick some field goals, some takeaways, some fumbles. It's not going to be clean. I'll put it that way. But I think New England just barely escapes with this thing because I also think, and look, Miami has a sense of urgency here as well, but I think the Patriots have a sense of urgency because they got the Steelers next week. And you don't want the season this early to kind of get away from you a little bit. And they have Carolina, the fourth game, and then they go to Buffalo. So look, this thing can turn into 1-4 awful fast if they don't win. So there's a sense of urgency there. And I think the Patriots fans, I got to be honest, Sam, the Patriots fans would really relish the opportunity to push Mike McDaniels a little further out on that ledge,
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure Mike McDaniel's waiting for somebody to push him. I feel like he quiet quit. He did the old COVID quit on this team. You could see it regressing over the last year. If they were to lose to the Patriots, like I was saying right before you joined the show, that is regression. That is a data point that business analytics can look at and go, this didn't happen with this quarterback and this coach, and now it is. What's changed? Is it because the Patriots are that much better, or is it because the Dolphins are that much worse? And I think it's probably a little bit of both, but probably more leaning towards the Miami Dolphins are a little bit worse. I'm not going to give you my prediction just yet. Go ahead.
Well, hold on. Let me say something too. I started this year saying the Patriots need to prove something to me. They need to, they need to win a game before I end up picking them. And I picked the Raiders last week. I said the Raiders are going to win last week. And I went into this week going, you know what? I don't feel great about picking the Patriots. I don't feel I'm still not there yet. But then basically Hogan on our podcast bullied me into taking the Patriots. And so it was just like, all right, fine. Okay, I'll go ahead. I'm all in on them this week. And if I lose, then I lose. And we can come back on and talk in January about how much of a dope I was. But
these athletes just bullying us poor non-athletes into doing whatever they tell us to do. It's got to stop at some point. At some point, us journalists with pens and paper will rise up and overtake the Chris Hogans of the world, the 7-Elevens of the world. That must be stopped. Such bully behavior. But shout out to Chris Hogan. Shout out to Believes in Pats. I always say it wrong. It's Believe in Patriots or Believe in Pats.
Well, it's technically the Patriots Report, but you can find it if you come up if you do a Google search like Believe in Patriots, that's what's going to come up. So
this is why you're better at this than I am. So I apologize for all the fans that are listening to this, getting their Christopher Price content, and I screwed that up. That's
all
my
good.
fault.
All good.
But look, I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. We're used to really not rising up to the challenge, especially in modern times. So we're just playing the part, ladies and gentlemen. Citizens of Perfectville, Christopher Price. Tell everybody where they can find you on all the socials. Where can they read you? All that fun stuff.
I am in the Boston Globe and at bostonglobe.com. You can check my stuff out there every day. I'm on Twitter, but I'm not all that active on Twitter anymore. I'm C Price Globe. I'm on Blue Sky, and you should be on Blue Sky too, by the way. I'm in Blue Sky at christopherprice.bsky.social, I think is what it is. So and then hit me. I'm also on Instagram at Cape Leaguer too, and I do some goofy crap over there as well. So
I'm on Blue Sky, and there's a lot of good people over on Blue Sky. I just haven't committed to a new relationship yet, right? Like I'm
That's
like,
the thing.
Hey, I could break up with Twitter, but I kind of want to be single for a little while if I'm going to do that. Like, do I really want to jump back into it?
I'm also too with Twitter. It's just you need to stay on Twitter for Adam Schefter and all the NFL teams, and so it's like I still have a Twitter account there.
Yeah.
But it's like an abandoned amusement park. It's like you can walk through and see, well, it wasn't as fun. Remember when we tweeted about this? This was great too. This was this. Remember when you tweeted about going to the comeback against the Falcons in Super Bowl 51? You can go back. So I do tweet from time to time, and I connect with you on DMs.
Yeah.
So I do have to kind of keep one foot in that world, but I look forward to the day where I can just kind of cut the cord.
Chop it off completely. Yeah. Well, I will DM you on Blue Sky for the next time we get together, and that way we can start to make that transition, and we'll make it happen together. Look, everyone out there, I'm not going to do a third segment like I normally do. Why? Because I can't top the content that Christopher Price just brought here from the Patriots report, which you can find on BLEAV. So we're just going to end it now. He gave you gold. He told us how the Miami Dolphins should attack this Patriots defense, who they need to look out for on that Patriots defense, who we need to focus in on the Patriots offense. And then he went around and broke his own rule because his bully of a co-host, Christopher Hogan, told him to do so. And he picked the Patriots 21-19, the narrowest of victories this Sunday, trying to get our boy fired, Mike McDaniel. So we're going to leave it at that. Christopher, thank you very much for being here on the show. And as I always tell everyone, nobody's perfect.
Oh, well, here, hold on. Let me, I know I'm not your Chris, but I am a Chris here. And so can I say later?
Okay. So you want to end the show. You want to take the Christopher Colon role.
Yes.
Because Christopher Colon is not here. Well, let's call it an audition. Why not? Let's see how this Chris does the later. Ladies and gentlemen, this is new. Chris Colin's gonna be pissed. I'm gonna get a text. I'm gonna get a phone call. I'm gonna get an email. I'm gonna get a carrier pigeon at my door with a little "fuck you" letter from Christopher Colon when he sees and hears this. But I'm down. Let's do it. All right. So I'll set it up. I'll point you, and let's see the later. Let's see how it feels. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for this? We're groundbreaking right now. All right. On behalf of Sam Marcoux, Christopher Price, the entire BLEAV Network, presented by Fanduel, the only thing left to say is goodbye from Perfectville.
Later.
That's pretty good. I like Chris Cullen's in trouble. He's on the hot seat. Mike McDaniel, Chris Cullen, hot seat.